So we're working on finding the percent of a number, and we're doing some tricky 7th grade ones. And we picked number 18, and all we've done so far is change 30 1/3 to percent to the decimal we know and love, because we're going to always change percents to decimals or fractions we know. Do we know this fraction off the top of our head? No, this is not one of the ones on our fraction decimal percent sheet. So our next strategy is to change that to a decimal. How do I change percents to decimals? It's 1/100th. There's 2 zeros. I'm going to move the decimal how many places? 2. Which way? To the left or the right? To the left, because it has to be less than 1. We know that 100% is 1. So we're going to make this percent now into 0.303. I could keep going, right? 333. 3 or 4 decimal places is plenty. We know, based on our discussion yesterday, that it's about 1/3 of 3, which should be pretty close to 1. You do get to use a calculator today. Percent of a number, what operation are we using? Everybody needs to say that really loud. Yay! You need to know that doesn't change. And so I'm going to type in 0.3033. I'll just do a couple of decimal places. Okay? Times 3. Yes, you can use a calculator. Yes, you're required to show me what you type in, because here's what I discovered. I can just look at your paper, and if you don't get the right answer, I can figure out, oops, they forgot to move the decimal place. My answer is 0.9099. Is that pretty close to our about 1? Why, yes. If you would not have moved the decimal place, you'd have gotten like 90. And you'd have said to yourself, obviously I did something wrong. It says round to the nearest 100th. Please make sure you do that. So we went out 4 decimal places, because you know you have to have 3, right? So this is going to be 0.9. Is it 0.90 or 0.91?
0.91.
Why is it 0.91? Michaela. Good, this is higher than 5. And so my answer is 0.91. And you're going to circle your answer, please, and thank you.
Why don't you use the little squiggly line?
Now, is this exact or is this about?
About.
This is exact. When we said it should be about 1, that's why I put that little squiggle in front of there, because we knew that our estimation in our head was supposed to be about 1. If you don't use the estimation strategy we talked about yesterday, you will frequently get things that are 10 or 100 times off, because most 7th graders at some point in time in this chapter are not going to move the decimal the right number of places. That's a very typical error. I hope it's not you, because that means you're getting stuff wrong and you'll have to go back and fix it. But because we're moving the decimal places, if you don't know in your head that it should be pretty close to 1, and you could do that exactly, right? About 1/3 of 3 is 1, because we can do those 1/3. Okay? That's what I would recommend you always do. This one, number 21, it's 1/4%. Well, what's 1% of 150?
No.
1% is 1/100th, so I'm going to move the decimal how many places? 2, so it should be about 1.5. If you get something that's 30, you're obviously wrong. Okay? The decimal's already there. They didn't write the 1/4 as a fraction. You're not just going to type in 0.25 times 150. No, no, no. You did not change that to a decimal yet. Okay? And so down here on this side, if it's more than 100, it should be more than the number, obviously. You're always going to move it. Percent means out of 100, there's 2 zeros. I move it 2 places to the left, because it's going to get smaller. Yep. Because if I moved it the other way, I'd end up with times 25, and I'd end up with something in the thousands, which is nowhere close to about 1.5. Okay? There are a couple of questions on this one. Questions on that part. I would start there. If I were you, I would start on the tricky part of the page, because you and I both know you can do 40% of 123 with no problem at all. What probably is a little trickier is this bottom half. I would start with the bottom half today. Let's look at 16. Can I move on? We're good to go so far?
Yep.
Okay. Do you have to underline and star? Well, yes, you do. Mr. Redding sells vehicles to 20% of the people that come into the sales lot. There are 65 people that came last month. How many vehicles did he sell? Not how many are left over. How many did he sell? So I promise, reading errors start to pop up in chapter 6. Because we could ask how many are left over, right? He wants to know how many cells. So what are we going to do to set this up? What are we trying to find? Okay, I love how she did that. Can I say that out loud just because when I videotape sometimes you don't hear it? She said, well, it's 20% of 65. I love how she pulled out all the key things and made it easier to look at. Now it looks just like what we've been doing. The hard part for story problems frequently is to know even what to do. If you pull that stuff out like that and write that first before you start to do the calculations, you are more likely to get it correct. I know it's one extra step, but if you don't have to do correctives, it's like 7 extra steps because I make you do all that work, right? Okay, so help yourself out. Now, you could do it a couple of different ways. You could change 20% to a fraction, or you could change 20% to a decimal. What do you want to do? Some people want to do decimals. 20% is what decimal? 0.2 of means multiply 65. You could use a calculator. I bet Jessalyn wants to do this. I bet she wants to do 1/5 times 65 over 1 because she loves fractions. Yeah? And then she sees a factor of 5 on the top and the bottom. I don't care which one you do. I care an awful lot that you put the answer down there. Do I just have a number? No. What's my label going to be?
Vehicle.
Vehicles. Okay?
Can you